is a really important topic, and that is how you can study smarter, easier, faster, even happier, while reducing stress and having a balance between studies and your sports or your external or curricular activities. I think that is so crucial if you are a parent tuning in. I think that is really the goal, isn't it? It's not about turning our child into a bookworm or a robot just studying all the time. And yet, how can we help them achieve academic excellence while also excelling in other pursuits like sports, music, art, and so forth? So today, this is the goal. So in a very short session, okay, you are going to walk away with the know-how. That means you will know how to guide your children. And if you're a student tuning in, well, thank you for joining. And the goal is for you to start studying smart, not hard, okay? So this is the key. So with that, now let's get started. I want to just take a deep dive into the process today of active learning with you. Let's really go fast, and if you have a notebook, take notes, okay? It's so crucial. And for you to engage yourself, the first step in the learning process is to acquire information. I've been training so many students at universities, at IB, in IGCSE, O-level, A-level. You know what? I've got many students studying law, medicine, business, or MBAs and so forth. They all use this process and they have been doing well. And while their classmates and counterparts are being stressed out, they tend to be able to involve themselves in many activities, especially many meaningful activities, and yet not being burned out. I think that is the key. So let's understand the learning process. The first is to acquire information. Now, as we speak, you've got to really take a step back to better understand how you best learn. For some students, they need to see something. They need to, for example, look at the PowerPoint slides. They need to read. Yet, I've got students who are performing better by being in a mastermind group, like some of my students from National University of Singapore. They like to discuss, they like to express, they like to debate. So, and then I've got other students who must write things down, who must do something in order to learn. So what is your learning style? And pay attention to your learning style as you acquire information, okay? But the first step is you've got to acquire information, whether that be reading a chapter in the textbook or watching a video or taking notes, making notes, being in a discussion. The second step, which is so crucial, is to understand. You've got to understand. In fact, it's like peeling an onion. You've got to peel the layers all the way to the core. If you can understand and see the relevance, see the relationship between this topic and another topic, you have a huge advantage. So I encourage you to always pursue deep understanding. And the third step is for those of you who are, for example, studying medicine or IGCSE, O-level, A-level, and so forth, medicine, you've got tons of content, key points to memorize. So you've got to develop a powerful memory, not based on repetition or cramming, but based on creative imagination. That means you've got to train yourself, memory techniques, memory skills, and you will have an unfair advantage when you do that, because after all, what good is knowledge if you don't understand it? The next step is to apply. So crucial. It's not enough to just have the knowledge, because knowledge is not true power. It's the application of knowledge that is true power. Whatever you're learning, I'd like for you to apply to the real world. Apply to what's happening in your daily life. And if you can do that, you have a really powerful process. So with that, now, learning process being taken care of, the next step is, in order for you to learn well, you have to understand why. Why do you want to do well? And if your why is not powerful enough, is not compelling enough, you won't really set compelling, powerful goals. And getting the how will be much more difficult for you. But if you truly understand why you need to do well, why you want to excel, that is a different story, because that way you can swim with the currents. Many students, they don't understand why they want to do well, so they are not motivated. They don't understand why. But if you say, I'm going to just create a bright future for myself, I'm going to take charge of my own destiny, I'm going to just show the world what Alan is capable of doing, what Rebecca is capable of achieving, what I am able to do, then it's a different story, isn't it? Because now it's motivation from inside. It's not pressure from outside. So you have to understand the why. And now the next step is discipline, which is so hard. With all the electronic distractions, temptations, oh my gosh, social interaction, how can you force yourself literally if you don't like the subject, if you don't feel like studying? You know what? That's where self-discipline comes into the picture, because it doesn't matter whether you feel like it or not. If you can set up the routine or the ritual every day, you literally really force yourself to swim in the pool of learning, whether you feel like it or not. Like the top runners or the triathlon champions, right? They practice, they go out whether it's rain or shine, it doesn't matter. That's the kind of self-discipline you must develop, because it's too easy to be derailed by temptations or distractions. And now with that, let me just give you a quick example. One of my students used to really hate mathematics, and yet she would require to do well in maths in order to get in the top university, of course. And so I mentioned to her, you know what? This is really an acquired taste. It's not something that you are born with. And I asked her to set a study block in the morning. That means I asked her to go to bed early, 30 minutes earlier, and then get up 30 minutes earlier. And she did that. I said, just try this out for 1 month, okay? And the first thing in the morning, I like for you to have mathematics as breakfast, because you don't like it, so you have to do more. Essentially, this is the concept of eating the frog. If you can eat that ugly frog first thing in the morning, guess what? Everything else during the day will be much easier, will be much more pleasant. She did that for 1 month. I said, I'm surprised actually you did that, okay? Because it's not easy, and congratulations and good job. And she told me, she said, Coach, actually maths is not that bad. I said, oh, see, amazing turning point. And that sparked her motivation to do more. And eventually she got over 90% in mathematics. And that was really a wonderful achievement. So this is how you develop self-discipline, by setting up the structure for you to succeed. Now, let me get into the nuts and bolts of studying smart. And that is called preparation. Okay, W. Edwards Deming, the father of total quality management, TQM, stated something very profound, and that is, he said, if you can control the first 15% of the process, that 15% can control 85% of the outcome or the results. So I hope you get that. If you can control the first 15% of the process, that helps you ensure or control 85% of the outcome. So what does that mean? That means you have to control your preparation for learning. Let me jump in with you. The first is physical preparation, which is really much more simpler. Now, I'm going to show you, just follow me. Okay, physical preparation. Okay, here's a mind map. So If you can prepare your workstation or your study station and following these ideas, make it what? Make it comfortable for you. Of course, it's organized. If it looks like World War III and you can't even find your notes or your textbook, you are definitely in trouble. Okay, you want to be organized and at the same time set up a comfortable workstation. Another thing is lighting is very important. I prefer natural light, and of course I have the artificial ceiling light. Now next one, ventilation. And from time to time you've got to open the windows, get oxygen in, get fresh air in, because our brain essentially burns 20 to 25% of the oxygen intake. Next one, have all your supplies ready. That means before every study session, get all your notes, all your exam papers, or your textbook, stationery, calculator, everything ready. So you won't be running around once you start the session. Next one, make it inviting. Make it stimulating for your mind, for your interest. That means you would love to go there and learn, sit down and learn. Last one is what? Is positive affirmation. And this is so crucial. If you can learn with positive emotions, if you tell yourself, you know what, this is interesting. I'm going to learn how photosynthesis works. I'm going to learn how chemical reactions work. Then you have the interest. When you have the interest, you have the motivation. Now that is so crucial actually for students in primary. For example, in year 5, year 6, or in upper primary, before they get into secondary. The question here is, what kind of habits do these students have? And at the same time, if you are a parent, what kind of habits have you helped your child or your children cultivate? Because once they step into secondary school, it's a different ballgame. You want to help them develop these kind of habits of preparing the workstation and getting organized and planning in advance. With that, mental preparation. Okay, if a student says, I'm going to sit down to do some studying, you know what? That is not powerful. That's not effective. But if the student sits down and writes down the goal for every study session, for example, the student can just aim to do, let's say, 3 questions in mathematics or read 5 pages in geography. That is a goal. That's just a mini goal. But that directs the student's attention and motivation to that goal. So I strongly recommend you use that concept, okay? Now with that,